In this video, we'll be learning about the impersonal pronouns. Now, they are very different from personal pronouns, which refer to specific objects or persons or things. Now, the impersonal pronouns, on the other hand, refer to things more in general or unspecific objects. Let's take a look at the examples. So, examples of impersonal pronouns include words like one, they, it, and you. So, if I have an example of a sentence like this, one must always be polite. So you can take a look at this sentence. Here, one is not exactly referring to a specific person. I am not pointing at one particular person or thing with this pronoun. Instead, the word one here is referring to people in general. Hence, it is an impersonal pronoun and not referring to a single person. Similarly, words like they, it, and you can also be used in a more general way or unspecific way as impersonal pronouns. So first, let's take a look at how we use the impersonal pronoun one. So when we want to refer to people in general or unspecified objects, we can use one. However, we have to remember that if we use the word one at the start of a sentence, we have to use different forms of one to refer back to the subject of the sentence as one. So, if you start a sentence like this, one must not something like trust oneself. So here you can see that I started the sentence with one, right? But in order to refer back to one, I used oneself. I didn't use himself or herself because that would become more specific. However, if one is used, you have to use different forms of one, oneself or one again. So you have to make sure that you continue to use one in order to talk about the subject of the sentence. Now, this is how we use one as an impersonal pronoun. How do you use they and you? So, they and you have the same purpose as one in a sentence. When you want to refer to something in a more general or unspecific way, we can use these as pronouns to do so. So, let's take a look at an example using they. We have they speak English here. I am not referring to a specific person or a group of people using the word they here. I'm simply stating it as a general fact that they speak English here. They is not referring to anybody in particular. So here, they is behaving as an impersonal pronoun, not a personal pronoun. Similarly, in this sentence, you have they disrespect teachers in some schools. Again, they is referring to something unspecific or in general about maybe the students in the schools, etc. But I'm not specifying it, or I'm not placing it in a group that has been mentioned. So here they is used as an impersonal pronoun. Now you similarly can be used in sentences such as you can never find anything here. You is not specifically pointing at you, but instead it's used as a general term to talk in an unspecified way. Another example could be you should always be polite. So here you would not be specifying that I'm talking about you particularly, but you in general, such as everybody or somebody. So here again, you is used as an impersonal pronoun and not a personal pronoun. Next, we look at the impersonal pronoun it. So, firstly, you can use the word it as an impersonal pronoun as the subject to an impersonal verb. Now, what are impersonal verbs? They're basically verbs which don't have a specific or a determinate subject. So, in order to give it a subject, we can use the word it as the impersonal pronoun. So, for example, it is raining. The word raining here is the verb, but it is an impersonal verb because it does not have a specific subject attached to it. But I have used the word it in order to replace the subject and made it an impersonal pronoun in forming this sentence. Now, similarly, it can be used as a subject to replace an infinitive. Now, let's take a look at an example. To play with fire is dangerous. So in this sentence, you can see that I have used the infinitive to play, right? Now, if I want to replace the infinitive, I can reframe the sentence to have it as the subject. So I can write, it is dangerous to play with fire. So here what I've basically done is I have replaced the infinitive with a subject, which is an impersonal pronoun, it. Again, it is not referring to something specific. It is a more general pronoun, which is referring to something non-specific or more general in its nature. Now, you can also use the impersonal pronoun it when you want to represent the neuter gender. We've already discussed what the neuter gender is. It is when the gender is unspecified. So, for example, if you're talking about a baby, then you can also use it to describe the baby when the sex is not determined. So we can say something like, the baby is playing, it is happy. So here we are not specifying whether the baby is a boy or a girl, so we're not using a pronoun such as he or she. We can use the word it in order to show that we're using the neuter gender and not specifying the gender of the baby. Now, another example of how we use the impersonal pronoun it is when we want to emphasize or place more importance on the noun or the pronoun which is in question. Let's take an example of a sentence. It is John who has done it. So here, we want to emphasize or place importance on the fact that it is John who has done something. So we have used the word it, which is an impersonal pronoun, to refer to the noun or the pronoun John, and have placed emphasis on John through its use. So we've taken a look at the different ways in which we use it as an impersonal pronoun. Remember that impersonal pronouns refer to general things or to unspecific things, and they can be used to refer to a group as well, such as they. You can use you can use one, and you can use it to do so, and they act as impersonal pronouns.